So I'm trying something a little different here. Got these 1-inch foam boards that are R5 value, and then underneath that I'm putting a radiant barrier that's a 1/2 inch, so that's another 2R, and taping all the seams and all that. So this is going to be a vapor barrier, and then I'm going to put my siding on top of that. And here where this deck is right now, it's plywood, but I'm going to tear this out and put deck board here. So we're staying a little bit above that, good 5/8 of an inch above, because the deck board's going to be thicker than the 3/4 ply that I have down, and so that's going to raise that up a little bit. And yeah, so on top of this is just going to go plywood, my plywood siding, and then the seams will be taped with board over top of them. And yeah, I think it'll be pretty weather resistant and strong. And $27 a board for each one of these, $12 a board for the 1/2 inch stuff. So there's like 50 some boards, 12 by 40 with 2/3 of it 2 stories. There's 50 some boards of each. So then you got the 1/2 inch plywood, which was like I think it was like $22 a board, something like that. So multiply all those times 50 something and you're in debt. So such is the way that it works, but not as much as a mortgage though. And it'll be pretty cozy when it's all said and done. I'm going to spray foam the top. Once I get that in there, I'm going to spray foam the top, but that's going to make it, it's only 2x6 rafters, so I couldn't really put much insulation in there, fiberglass, so spray foam seems to be the best option. Also, it acts as a vapor barrier in addition to the zip board that I'm putting up. That'll be its own vapor barrier. So then metal roof on top of that, but I should be able to get 5 inches of foam in there, which is like a R35. Is it 7 per inch? Or is it 5? Yeah, I think it's 7 per inch, something like that. Might even be better than that. So that's looking at $3,000 for that roughly. I've gotten estimates from $3,000 to $4,000. So we will see about that. But the cool thing is this space here. It's a 12 by 40 space. This is going to be a sliding glass door. I'm going to put all kind of windows in here. I got so many windows that I've picked up for free and cheap, but including a garden window. But anyway, this is a 12 by 40 space. I'm going to have a wood stove pipe here. I might keep it in the same spot because this is where it was before. That's downstairs, obviously. Shoot that all the way up and then out or up all the way through. And that will provide warmth whenever that's on. Potentially could keep the whole house decent just with that. I don't think it's not in the real cold stuff, but anyway, yeah, space heater or, a light heater should, by the time it's all said and done, I put some R21 in this. In addition to the 7 that I've got and the wood and all that. So that's going to be just lots of insulation. And this is going to be a long-term home. It's not made to be just a quick cabin. It's hopefully going to be a legacy home, something that the family enjoys for generations to come. But yeah, all kinds of different ideas I've got here with this build that are way different than anything you're going to see because, well, I don't know why per se, but like for instance, this is just a log post holding up this beam. So everything on the top floor is held up by these 2x12 joists that are sitting on top of a beam. I had to carve. See, some of these I did spacers with them, but I started getting better at it, and you can see that I had to carve away. Sometimes I went too much with the chainsaw, and but in order to make it flush, or level, that's what I had to do. You can see I missed this one, but yeah, I've got hurricane straps on it too on the inside. So that is held down pretty securely to this. This outside wall has a lot of support with posts. And so what I did here, I didn't dig a deep footing on this. I might come back and do that later. But for right now, it's not a deep footing. But this is deep. This hole for this is deep, and it's filled with rock. And the pole itself is coated with oil and diesel, and it's 4 feet deep. So as you see, this bottom floor is kind of it was tough making this stuff. So this is gonna all get spray foamed or rope stuff, and that'll fill all that stuff in later. And then chinking, I'm gonna put chinking on top of the foam. But yeah, this stuff, it there's better ways that this all could be done. And I'm not done with it. But as far as these things, looking at it now, these are all being held in by these. But right as it speaks, under construction, that's okay. I'm going to come through and reinforce all my structure, my foundational stuff. But those are just held there. Obviously, you can see I didn't even kind of notch those out. Those were actually temporary logs that I was putting in kind of at one point, and then they ended up staying. But I changed up the plan a little bit over here. Went with larger logs, and then you can see the increase there because I couldn't get the logs exactly the same size. And I just also, didn't want to spend a ton of time. Part of it is just getting it done. That's part of the equation, because you can sit there and overfigure everything, and you should when it comes to safety issues. And I will have to revisit this foundation because everything is reliant on these posts, and then of course this setup with these logs holding the post here. Got two up there and holding those up, and then of course up there. And it's not as I'm learning, I'm saying no, this could be better. So I'll come in through here and I'll put in bigger spikes and stuff and brace this up, maybe even take a chainsaw, and that log was just too big. But anyway, this area is not really necessarily supposed to be airtight right away anyways. This is going to be a shop. This area is going to be a shop for the most part. There might be, it's like is a pole barn setup or a post beam setup, so you can build within it. So as long as you make it strong enough to do what it needs to do. And then I've got a 5-foot overhang cantilever here. The logs itself stick out farther than that, but we're sitting at 4. We're sitting at more than 5 feet. 54 inches, something like that, sticking over the edge. 1632 times 4, 64 inches. So that's 5 foot. Yeah, 5'4". There you go. Yeah, but it's cantilevered, like 20 feet that way. So it's okay, I think. And then this is just deck space, so I'm not building on top of this space. It's just a deck, so I'm feeling I'm pretty good with that. I do plan on putting posts under here as well, and then bringing it out, having a little bit more roof hanging over there. But yeah, it's a little sketchy inside here right now. Alexa, pause. Alexa, pause. Pause. Stop. Music. I don't know. I think it's going to kick back on. Right there, I don't love that. Those two posts are sitting on that thin post, which to me is it's a bit thin. Especially this side. It's resting. It's about 6 inches that is resting on there, and about 7 inches on the other one, roughly. Maybe 5 and 6. But this is like all this insulation here. That's just temporary. That's just a temporary wall that was up there because the RV is here, and I'm kind of building over top of the RV. And then I'm going to pull the RV out, and then this is going to be a garage and stuff. But so what I'm going to do is just like I did on this side, where you can see that there's a post here and there's a post there. I'm going to do the same thing over here where I put, and that wall is also temporary. So that will come out. But there's going to be a post and a post. Same thing over here. So that'll secure that up better. But for the construction phase, that's just going to have to do for right now because I can't. It'll be so much easier once I pull the RV out to dig those posts. I can put them in the ground, put a footing or whatever. So yeah, I know things are kind of rough looking right now, but that's part of the process. But anyways, that's my thoughts. I was going to build this whole wall up with logs, and then I said, well, wait a second, why don't I just kind of mix it up together? And, the idea was to use as many logs as I could from the property, like I did with my steps here. And I'm going to come through on the steps as well, and reinforce, put a face board there, a riser board, or not really a riser board, but, well, I might. I don't think I could put a riser in there. I barely overhang. I didn't overhang more than a ½ inch, I think. For the most part, sometimes 3/4. Of course, right there, we're talking about 1 inch. So, anyway, I don't like perfection. It's kind of boring to me. I mean, I like it when it matters, but not necessarily if it doesn't. So, what I did up here is I just put a reinforcing board under there, as you can see. And those ones were sticking out a little farther because the log obviously gets narrower as it goes up, so those were sticking out. You don't hear any creaking or nothing in the in the tread, but it is, it's got quite a bit hanging over, a good 5 inches or so. So I was going to find some logs, like little branches, and stick them in there as kind of more decorative. But yeah, I don't know how I'll do it. I could put vertical branches, but then I don't have enough overhang to really support that. So I could put a triangle shaped vertical in there, notch it, and then make it fit. But see how the difference is, just because the difference of the log. Like there, that one doesn't have much of a opening. That one has a bit more. But yeah, ultimately the steps feel pretty good. I might come through and adjust them a little bit to tread angles and stuff like that, but they're pretty good. I got to move all my paint indoors because we're definitely below freezing every night. Well below, up until like 10 in the morning. But yeah, this is what it looks like. I threw that tarp over it to give myself some dry working space. And then, of course, that'll be coming off here soon as I put wood up there, sheathing. But as I do the one layer, I do the next, then I'm going to do the plywood on top of that. So it's not going to be just foam. I'm not going to do the whole thing foam and then come back, because I'm just tacking the foam in with about 4 screws with washers. Little roofing nails on the first layer. And that way it'll be all tied in real tight with the sheathing with nails. Maybe screws, a couple screws too, but nails are going to be the strength. So yeah, and of course that area stays one story. And then one final thing, and then I'll let you go onto your thing, whatever you're doing. There's a post there that's 20 feet. That one's 10. That one's 20. I'm going to build out like I did here, but it's going to go over there. It's going to put a post across. And I've got a couple different options on what to do with that. Originally, it was just going to be a flat floor again and continue to build out. And I think that's still what I'm going to do. Of course, this has been a couple years in the making, doing all this stuff, but I might also, another option would be just to run a beam down, cut this down, put an angle on it, and just make that a roof, but still high enough to be a garage. But then that would be the entire house. So I could do that with a portion of it. I could just do flat and do an addition just on a portion of the house, like maybe 24 feet, that the second story, that portion, and then either continue it flat and then turn that into a deck, or a roofed thing. So yeah. Yep. Fun. Will I ever get done? Will it ever be a home? I think so. I'm getting there. Yeah.